All right. Hallelujah. All praises going up to the Most High Yah, His only begotten Son, Yahusha. Hallelujah. We thank Him on tonight. Thank you, Father Yah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Yahusha, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. There is none other. Hallelujah. We don't recognize any other. He told us when we come before Him, there's only one. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our Elohim is one Yah. Deuteronomy 6:4. He's only one, and He's given us His Son to redeem us and to get us back into covenant with Him and to be obedient unto His statutes, His commandments that He's given unto us. That's a part of the Torah. That's a part of the covenant. The part of the covenant on our part was to be obedient unto the covenant and be obedient unto the teachings that Musha had left us, who the world calls Moses. But to be obedient unto that teaching is what he has called us to in this day and this hour. So we want to welcome everyone to this Torah study on tonight. We certainly say shalom to you and to yours, to all the Hebrews, Shebrews, kings and queens, the ox and occultes, and all of our brothers and sisters, all the sojourners are sojourning in Yasharal. This is the place to be. You got to be in Yasharal. And I know the Roman religion says, no, you got to be in Christ. You got to be in the Mashiach. But getting in the Mashiach through the birth of the water and the Spirit, I believe in the birth of the water and the Spirit, but that birth puts you in, when you say the body of the Mashiach, that puts you into Yasharal, because that's who He's coming back for. He's coming back for Israel and all those who are sojourning in Israel. That's who He's coming back for. Now, when you talk about His bride, He's taken His bride out of Israel. His bride, His selected one, His very elect, the bride to be, are going to be found in Israel. He's not going outside of Israel to heathen nations to pick His bride. That is totally contrary to Torah, because He teaches in Torah, He taught them how to select a bride, how to select a wife, how to select a bride. And if He's telling them that you're to go in Israel and to the sons of Jacob to select your bride, why would He go against His own teachings that He taught his selected people? Why would He go against that teaching and go outside of Israel to find His bride? That would be totally contrary. He would be contradicting His word. So He is looking in Israel for His bride. Even our Messiah, when He came, He said He came unto His own received Him not. Says that He came unto Israel to save Israel. And so within Israel, you're going to find His bride. We see the selection process even in Song of Solomon, when Song of Solomon was teaching us, and that is kind of like a love letter that he has for his bride to be. And when you look at that Shunammite woman that he was selecting in the Song of Solomon, she was of the tribe of Issachar. The Shunammite woman was of a tribe of Issachar. And so that's where he went. So when you look at the bridegroom and selecting his bride, which we are coming closer and closer to that event, and we're praying and we're believing that it's going to happen within our lifetime. And the reason why we say that is because we have to recognize the signs of the time. We have to understand what is going on around the world. Torah teaches us how to live. The prophecies that are given in Torah, none of that is going to be done away until all of it is fulfilled. Every prophecy now has to be fulfilled. And in the prophecy of it, even in the first century, and that's our example, it's the ecclesia in the first century, but even them, they used and they spoke of prophecy in order to explain what was going on in their day. So if they use prophecy that has not been fulfilled yet, why would we run from prophecy? Why would we look in every area of the book but prophecy? So as we prepare to be in that bride, because it says in Revelation that the bride has made herself ready. She's made herself ready. The bride, we also have in Matthew 25, we've got the 10 virgins that were expecting to be selected. These were virgins that was in that group that was going to be selected. He was going to go to those virgins to select his bride. So we have to see he's meticulous. He's selective. He is particular. I mean, that's just how he is. That's how Most High Yah is. So everything he does is decent and in order. And so when you look at the 10 virgins, and they were expecting, one of them was expecting to be chosen to be his bride, to be the bride of the bridegroom. But we see that 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. And so it is foolish of us today to think that we are going to be even in the selection process if you continue in sin. That's just foolishness. That's just foolishness for someone who is expecting to be the bride. When you know how meticulous he is, when you know that you're going to be betrothed unto him in judgment, which means he's going to go over you with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, he is going to really, really be looking. And that's, Shaul knew that. That's why Shaul said that it is a glorious ecclesia. The called out ones are going to be glorious. He said in Ephesians 5, let's get that, Brother Nathan, Ephesians 5 and verse number, is that 32? Ephesians 5, 32. Okay, let's go up to, let's say, is it 28? Maybe it's 28, Brother Nathan. 27. So that he might present it to himself a glorious ecclesia. And so that bride, because this is going to be his bride now, that bride cannot have what? Can't have no spots. That bride can have no spots. So when you look at Matthew 25 and you're looking at the 10 virgins, and Matthew 25 is talking about the 10 virgins, these were candidates that were pure. They were pure. They were waiting to be selected. They were waiting for the bridegroom, but they knew that they could not have any spots. So if I'm not going to have any spots, he's going to look at me and look at my life. My life. He's going to look at my life. He's going to look at the walk of my life. Do you know, it just dropped on me, everybody's name is not written in the book of life. He has a number of books. He's got a number of books, but he does have a book called the Lamb's Book of Life, which is a very sacred book that's different from the other books. Everybody's name's not written in that book. He does have other books. He has a book of life where he's going to judge everybody out of. But when you look at the Lamb's Book of Life now, everybody's not written in that book. So if you want to get into the Lamb's Book of Life, then you can't have any spot. Your robes, it even says in Revelation that they're going to have white robes, which signifies what? What do those white robes signify? Righteousness. The white robes signify righteousness. And if you got something that is white, That's why when people wear white, you have to be very. I mean, you can't be a sloppy eater. You can't be sloppy. You drinking juice, drinking whatever. You can't be sloppy. Um, you just have to be very careful what you brush up against. Have you ever wore all white and then you left the house and your whatever you had on your robe was just white and clean, the sun shining on it, and it's just standing out. People look at that bright white. You're even careful where you walk. You even, you know what? You even tell me, oh, wait a minute, don't touch me now. Or we'll say this, are your hands clean? If you're going to touch my garment, your hands got to be clean. Let me see, are your hands dirty? Because, yeah, I got white on. Yeah, I mean, you're very careful with it. You're very conscious. You're very conscious of where you go. Sometimes Coty might be saying, "Hey, I don't want to ride in your car because I'm gonna get my white outfit dirty." Did you wash the car? Because if you brush up against it, that white's gonna get dirty. You're gonna have a spot. You're gonna have a spot on it. So I'm very conscious. And that's what he meant when he says, I want you to walk circumspectly. I want you to be very conscious of what you're doing. Every day that you're living, you got to be very conscious. You have to be so conscious that every idle word is going to be brought back in judgment. My idle words. So I have to be very conscious about how I speak. What am I saying? Because I know how we get sometimes when somebody says something to us we don't like. And you know how we go back to that old man. We go back, and then we feel bad. If you have a conscience about you, after you do that, you feel bad. And that's good. If you can say something or do something and then feel bad about it, at least you can admit to your wrong and says, okay, yeah, I was out of pocket. That was just not me, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Because you have to get that blemish off you, or you got to get that spot off you. You have to get that spot off you. I brushed up. Sometimes we get into certain situations with people and those people can get you to turn upside down. And so when I know that I have to deal with certain people, and I know that it's easy for me to lose control. So I've got to be more cautious now. I got to be more cautious. I got to be more, I'm really conscious of what I say. Well, you're not speaking real fast because I'm measuring my words. I want to make sure, because I know if I say something that's out of pocket or wrong or something, it could be detrimental to you. It could be detrimental to me. So I'm measuring what I say. I'm using wisdom and knowledge and understanding. It says in Proverbs, a man that can control his spirit. And it says in Corinthians, it says that the spirit of the prophet is what? Subject to the prophet. So you ain't got no excuse. I mean, you have to understand that I'm not going to lose control with the Ruach HaKodesh. I won't lose control. Yes. Yeah, it's in James. You can find that. Yeah, it's in James that if you can bridle your tongue. I think it says something about the tongue opens up the gates of hell. Yeah, it's the smallest member, and it'll open up the gates of hell. Something to that effect. It's in James. But if you can bridle that tongue, then and I don't know exactly how that reads, but we can look it up. It's in James, and it talks about bridling the tongue. But it takes you have to be masterful. Yes.
I mean, this is all Torah is good, but this is like really good because you dealing with the mean, they say, oh, you just, and I just had to say it,
Yeah.
I couldn't control it. But the Torah says the opposite. It says you can control it and you will control it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your behavior. I mean, because this society says anything goes. I could just flip out on you because I'm upset. But the Torah says, no, you can't do that.
No, you can't. I mean, because we're supposed to strive for that,
Right.
to where we get to that maturity. Some of us ain't there yet, but yes.
Yeah, because I mean, every morning I have to pray. When I go to work, I know I got opposition. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's I mean, like Shalom said, when I do good,
Evil's present. It's right there.
go on to work trying to do good, but I mean, there's people that I know.
Right. And I know what you're saying, because when I was in supervision, man, I had to just really bridle my tongue, because there's times where you just want to say something. You just want to, no, I'm going to say this, and then I'll just tell my manager, yeah, because, I did say that. And there was a couple times where I had to go back and rephrase things because I got myself in trouble. I'll admit it, because I said some things. Oh, man. Yeah, well, I need to correct that. And it's better to have that ruach in you to where you want to go and correct it and do good. I've got to do good, because he who knoweth to do good and doeth not, it's what? It's a sin to me or to you, whoever does it. If you know to do good and you don't do it, that's a sin on you.
Oh my God.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
It's right under every time we have to interact, it's right under my skin. I mean, and I don't come out like, ugh, but y'all want to deal with me, like, to not be, like, sharp.
Right.
Because I'm like, I know who you are, and you know who you are, but you just pretend like, everything is copacetic.
Right. Right.
Even just like the slightest things, I'll be like, okay, whatever you want to do, whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
okay, I gotta do better. Because I'm like, I almost feel like I gotta be an actress.
I know. I know.
But this is good though, because
I
I'm
know it.
together.
Because I've been in positions like that, and even now sometimes. Even now, when I'm talking with people and counseling them, especially when I'm counseling, I have to give an account for everything I say. I can hurt somebody, or I can help them. And that's a position that you really need to humble yourself when you're in that position, to where your words can hurt somebody, or your words can help. Now, in Proverbs, it says that, I think it's 18, it says death and life is in what? The power of the tongue. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. Now, I see that two ways, because I can't just speak and somebody come out of the grave. Yahusha did that. He said, Lazarus, come forth, because he had the power of death and life in his tongue. But I can say certain things that can cause people to react a certain way. Or they said that you can speak harshly to a pet over time, and that eventually they'll just want to when they lose their master, that's like losing their heart. They don't have a desire to live anymore. And it's the way that you speak to them. Or a plant. They said you should, when you have plant life, you can speak to a plant life, and or you can just be mean and play all that Charles Manson music, and next thing you know, now some people might like that, but next thing you know, that thing is just withering up and dying. So it's very important that I know how to present myself at all times. Shaul says, he that striveth for the mastery must be what? Strive lawfully and be what? Temperate in what? All things. He that striveth for the mastery must be temperate in all things, which means you got to maintain control. So when do I vent? Somebody might be saying that. Wait, but I gotta vent sometime. you know, and sometimes we just need that type of psychological, emotional therapy. And he usually, when you're husband and wife, I mean, he gives you those, where you can bounce things off of each other to where I'm not coming at you to tear you down. I'm just kind of explaining to you what I had to go through today, and I got to get this off. I got to vent and everything. That's totally different than just chopping somebody's, getting mad at them and saying evil things with the intent to tear them down. It's just, you're dealing with two different things. Because who gave us our emotions? Most High Yah. He gave us our emotions. Something else I seen today, because, I'm trying to think, okay, where go, a lot of stuff in the book, a lot of things in Torah I can say, and it says, in Matthew 24:4, the first thing he says, take heed, let no man deceive you, but I was reading in Job, and who, because a lot of times we want to give all, the master deceiver, the one that came to deceive, was Satan. That's what Revelations 12 tells us. He came to deceive us, Satan. Let's go to Job 12 and 16. Job 12 and 16. So I seen this. With him is strength and wisdom. Uh-oh. Because, see, Yahusha warned us about being deceived, right? So he says here, the deceived and the deceiver belongs to who? Belongs to the Most High Yah. You mean the deceived and the deceiver belongs to him? Everything. It's all his creation. Good, evil, everything. Those who believe, those who don't believe, the deceiver, the master deceiver, Satan belongs to him. He created him. The deceived and the deceiver is his. It's all his. So when Yahusha tells me, now don't be deceived, he is full aware of the deception, not only in his day, but the deception that was going to be all the way up to, he's full aware of who the deceiver is and knows all the tools and the tactics of the deceiver. He knows all of that. So I was, because I was thinking, man, this is my deduction that I'm coming to. This is my deduction. He puts deception out there, and he knows people are going to be deceived, but he has some special jewels that he knows that's going to make it, that's not going to be deceived. He knows who those are, but everybody else is going to be deceived, because I'm trying to wonder why. I mean, we want his will to come. Ain't no deception up in the Shamayim. We want that will to be down here, but it's not until he puts them in, binds him up for 1,000 years, and then he's going to release them yet again before he throws them in the lake of fire. But it's all belongs to him. It all belongs to him. So it's imperative in our day that I can't allow anything to deceive me. I can't, especially if you want to be in that bride, you cannot allow the mastery of this world to overcome you. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Our adversary is wise. He's been around before Adam was created. He's seen how our father, how Abba made the Shamayim. He's seen how he stretched forth the sky, and he sees how it's a molten looking glass. That's what we have above us. It's a molten looking glass. That's what it says in the Bible. So he's seen all of this. But he'll make you think that everything that he created, he'll give you a story and make you think of something else. When we can go to Torah, and Torah explains everything to us. But he's masterful at deception. He is the deceiver. He's masterful at it. But I can't allow his mastery to overcome me. I just can't do it. Especially when I have Torah. Especially when I have Torah. So Proverbs 6, Proverbs 6, is it 23? Yeah. For the commandment is a lamp and the law is what? And the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So for the commandment is a lamp and the law is light. So I can't allow the masterful deceiver to deceive me. And the only thing that is going to keep him from deceiving me is his commandments and his law. His Torah. The Torah is going to keep me from being deceived. Anything outside of Torah now falls into deception. And there's a lot of people in deception. Anything outside of Torah is deception. Throw Constantine's Creed up here, Brother Nate. Can you just? This is deception. I renounce all custom, rites, legalism, unleavened bread, sacrifices of the lambs of the Jews or of the Hebrews, and all other feasts of the Hebrews, sacrifices, prayers, aspiration, purification, sanctification, propitiations, and fasts, and new moons, and Shabbats, and superstition, and hymns, and chants, and observations, and synagogues, absolutely everything that has to do with the people of this book. So really, he's rejecting our Messiah. Constantine is rejecting our Messiah. So everybody who follows this creed now is deceived. Everybody who follows the creed is deceived. It's very easy. It's not difficult. Every law, absolutely everything, every law, right, custom, and if afterwards I shall wish to deny and return to that. If once I deny all of that, if I return to it, or shall be found eating with the Yahudim, or feasting with them, because they had 7 feasts. Now, we're going through a feast now called Feast of Dedication. And the Feast of Dedication is when Mary or Miriam was overshadowed with the Ruach HaKodesh and she became pregnant. Because 9 months from now is when he was born. And if you go 9 months from now, what is the month that has the most babies? Anybody know? Where there's always a spike in birth. You know what month that is? Anybody know? Well, close, but no, the spike in birth. When do you have a spike in birth? What month usually is a spike in birth? What's 9 months from today or now, this time? 9 months? September. There's always a spike in births in September. Always a spike in birth in September because around this time of year is when a lot of seed is planted. There's a lot of conceptions planted right around this time of year. So 9 months from now is when you have a spike. Well, if he was conceived at this time of year, there's no way Miriam was going to carry a baby for 12 months. She wasn't. She gonna carry it 9 months. So 9 months from now is when, and that's why you have the Feast of Dedication. So did Yahusha keep the Feast of Dedication? So let's go back to the Bible. Did Yahusha keep the Feast of Dedication? Let's look at Yahuchanan chapter 12 and verse 1. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. This is the Passover. Yahuchanan chapter 7, verse 1. Which? No, that's the Feast of Tabernacles. 10. Yahuchanan 10 and 1. I'll get it right. No, that's not it. It was a feast. It was a time of the Feast of Dedication in Yahuchanan. And it's not, is it further down in 10 maybe? Go down. No, it's not, because it was in the beginning of the chapter. Yahuchanan, I'm going to have to find it now. It was the Feast of Dedication when he went to I thought somebody would have it, but is it okay? Yahuchanan 10:22. It's in 10. Going down to verse 22. Okay. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of the Dedication, and it was winter. So Yahusha, then came and Yahusha walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. So he kept the Feast of Dedication. So the Feast of Dedication is what they're, it coincides with the celebration of the Maccabees defeating the Greeks, because the Greeks wanted to slaughter a swine in the temple, and they fought against the Maccabees, and the Maccabees won that. They won that war, or that fight, that battle. They won that. And so you have this Feast of Dedication, which is twofold. It's the time that our Messiah was conceived, and it was also the time of when the Maccabees defeated the Greeks. So Yahusha kept the feast. He kept the feast. Isn't it something to follow a quote unquote Christ that doesn't keep Torah? That should bother you, that you follow a Christ that doesn't keep Torah. He has nothing to do with pagan holidays. He has nothing to do with them. He kept Torah. He kept the Shabbat. He kept the feast days. He kept the dietary laws. I mean, that's our example. He's our example. But you follow a quote unquote Christ that doesn't keep none of that. Or you say, yeah, he kept that. He kept it, so I don't have to. Now, you have to make that make sense. When he's our example that we should follow in his steps, who knew no sin, neither was any guile found in his mouth. So that's my example that I'm supposed to follow after, and that's what he did, but I don't have to do it. See, a lot of people are stuck in Constantine's creed, and he is a deceiver, and those who are deceptive. But so we have to be careful that we don't fall into deception when we're trying to be selected as his bride. Because if you think, let's go back to Ephesians 5 and 27. Let's go back there. If you think that he is going to look past this, which a lot of people think. If you think he's going to look past, he's going to be able to look at your garment and see if it has a spot on it. And then what we're going to say is, can you overlook that? I mean, that's what we're going to want to say. How we're going to want to say that? Because he says in Matthew 7, he says, not everybody that says Adonai, Adonai is going to enter into the kingdom. Everybody's talking about the Messiah, and they're not entering into the kingdom. Now we're keeping ourselves, walking circumspect. We've been born again of the water and the Spirit. And after that, it requires a life of us because we want to pass the test. We want to pass the test. He compares a husband and wife and being one, but he says later on here, he says, I'm speaking of the Mashiach and his ecclesia. That's a great mystery. It's a great mystery how the Mashiach is going to have his bride. And then we're the bride? We're going to be the bride? Well, if you say you are of the bride, you've got to pass this. No spot or a wrinkle. Now, some of us, it don't matter if our garments are wrinkled or not, but to him it matters. It matters. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because see, you have the bride that he's going to select. He's also going to have all these people at his wedding. Now, who wants to go? He ain't going to elope. He ain't just going to go to the justice of the peace to his father. No, he's having a big, huge celebration. So his bride, you're going to have his bride, but then you're going to have all these guests that's going to come. But somebody showed up because they didn't think it was important to wear the wedding garments. And so he says, you don't have the right clothing on. Because a lot of us, we don't think clothes matter. And the closer to his return for his bride, we seem to really slack from that. That we don't think it's important. My dress is not important. And usually when you let down your guard, and I know this culture, it's culturally driven. The fashions that we have is culturally driven. And so when you have an ecclesia that's more attracted to the culture that this world represents instead of the culture of Torah. And that's what we got to have. We got to have the culture of Torah. And men and women didn't look alike. They just did not look alike. His sons, the men, they had, some of them had locks and everything, but they had beards. If you seen somebody with locks but didn't have a beard, most chance you think that's probably a woman. But if you see somebody with locks and a beard, oh, that's a man. But we have not only in that, but a lot of our attire, which is culturally driven, is more towards the world. And you always see what's fashionable because it shows up in your house, in my house, in this house. And we wonder, what? Is that the fashion now? I'm kind of glad one fashion is kind of going by the wayside. And that's men with they pants down. I'm kind of glad that's kind of, because I can't wait till that fashion pass. Because I know all fashions are for a season. So I'm thinking, man, I just got to get through this season. I just got to get through this season. Because I'm thinking, man, because y'all know when we grew up, man, there ain't no way you're going to be running around with your pants half down. We just ain't going to do it. No, we weren't going to do it. Because I see that, I'm going back, I look at my youth coming up, I'm going, man, what would that look like back in the 70s and the 80s when we was growing up? What would that look like, you know? That looked kind of strange, man. It was like, man, what, you better put them pants up? Yeah. So I'm glad that fashion is passing away. But that creeps up in the church. It creeps up in the ecclesia because you'll have some of our young men sagging pants. In prison, it was a sign. That's a fact, yeah. You dropped that in the back, that was a sign. That let everybody, oh, he's available. Easy access. And so you bring it out into the culture now. And before you know it, it comes up in the ecclesia. But not in his culture. Not in the culture of Israel. That's why we shouldn't always be following the culture and the fashions of the world. We should be looking at the culture and the fashion of Israel. That's what he's looking for. He's going to find his bride in Israel. He ain't looking at the heathen and all these different nations. He's going to judge nations. He's coming back after Israel and all those who are sojourning in Israel. That's who he's coming back after. And then out of them, he's going to select his bride. Because everybody in Israel ain't going to be his bride. Because everybody's not going to pass the test. Everybody who's Israel ain't going to make the kingdom. He says that in Ezekiel, Yekazakal chapter 20, he says that. When I gather all my people, he says, I'm getting rid of the rebellious, the transgressors. I'm getting rid of all of them. They're not getting in the kingdom. And then out of those who make it in, now he's going to select I'm going to select my bride. And then at the wedding, like you said, now they were all invited to the wedding, but you had somebody who didn't have their wedding garments on. They got put out. Don't take me lightly. It's hard for some people to stay under very hard teaching, but if you knew your Messiah, you think he's going to be lenient now. You don't understand judgment because he's drawn to that. Psalms 37 says he loves judgment. That ought to scare you. Man, because y'all know how if we had to be judged, if I knew I'm up next to be judged, oh man, I'm checking myself. I'm checking myself. And then he loves it because he knows that's what's going to purify. He's not going to skip. He's not looking past everything that we think he's going to look past, that we look past. We look past a lot of stuff. Husbands look past a lot of stuff in their bride. Brides look past a lot of things in their bridegroom. But when you look at the bridegroom, Yahushua Mashiach, was there any spot? Was there any blemish? Was there a wrinkle? Or, because this what gets some people, this is the stumbling block, or any such thing. Man, I don't know. What's that? It is such, because he told us, except your righteousness exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall what? No wise what? You can't get in. Can't get in. So, and I know he's going to be troughed to righteousness. Oh man, judgment, loving kindness, mercy, faithfulness. If you don't have that, if that's not your, and Shaul gives us the fruit of the Spirit, right? And we should know those 9 fruit of the Spirit, right? That should just be a part. 10 commandments, 9 fruit of the Spirit. All this stuff, it just should flow out of us because we meditate on that. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, goodness, gentleness, temperance, meekness, and faith. Should be 9 of them. We should be able to run them off. And if you can't run off the 10 commandments and the fruits of the Spirit, but I know I got to bear those fruit because that's what he's looking for in his bride. That's what he's looking for. Or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. Now, this holy We say holy, but in the Hebrew, it's Kadesh. Kadesh. And Kadesh means to be set apart. It just means to be set apart. So, and that's what he did with his nation. That's what he did with his nation. He set them apart. So when he says holy, and here G40, hagios, an awful thing, sacred, physically pure, morally, what? Blameless. And isn't that what Shaul said? As touching the law, I'm what? Yeah, I'm blameless. Morally, I'm upright. Now, you know, we can say, well, Shaul, didn't you? I mean, wait a minute, Shaul. Because if you look at us, we're all suspect of something. That's just you know, our nature. That's why we need Torah. We need the Ruach, and we need Torah to set us apart. Because otherwise, we're suspect. I don't think too many people can go under the microscope. And I'm talking about from the top to the bottom, from the head to the toe. Because we look at people, we put them up on pedestals, and we think they're so holy. I don't think nobody wants to be under his microscope. Because he'll find something. That's why he told us at the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when they was back in the land, he says you need to get a fine brush and you go through every nick and corner of the house. So that's what he's going to do with us. That's why we can't hide nothing from him. He says, I know your thoughts as they come into you. Ezekiel 11:5. I know your thoughts as they come into you.
It also says that in Psalms. I think it's Psalms 91 or something like that, where he knows my thoughts are far off.
Yeah. He knows my thoughts are far off. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't always think right. Yeah, you got to, hey, wait a minute. It even says in Proverbs, the thought of foolishness is sin. I can't even be thinking foolish. Now, that's just a foolish thought. Oh, you just earned it. Now, that's a foolish thought. Now, my Torah tells me that I need to stay away from that. Foolish thoughts is sin. He don't even want us to be foolish. You ever seen a foolish man, foolish woman, foolish child? I mean, it's like, he don't even like that. That's why he's also drawn to mercies. Loving kind of mercy. Because if it wasn't for his mercy, none of us would be able to stand. Because he goes through us with a fine-tooth comb, won't none of us be able to stand. So he wants somebody holy. Holy is to be set apart. So in Deuteronomy, when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6, Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6, for thou art a what? Okay, let's pull this word down, holy, in the Hebrew, because this is what he's talking about. In the Greek, I know that's what the Greek says. That's the definition in the Greek. But in Hebrew, which is what he's talking about, he speaks in the Hebrew dialect, the Hebrew tongue. Kadesh. Kadesh means what? Set apart. Special. Set apart from the rest, everybody else, for what? A specific function. That's when you're sanctified. That specific function now sanctifies you. That's your sanctification. Being set apart from everybody else is your holiness. I'm set apart. So when he says, thou art a set apart people unto me. So by the way he sets them apart, they're holy. This is why I can understand now when, who were those two brothers that rose up against Moses? Um, huh? Is it Dathan and Abiram rose up against Moses, and you know what he says? Didn't he say, we are all what? We are all holy. What makes you so special? We're all holy. And for a long time, I couldn't think about, but what he's talking about, he's saying, hey, we're all set apart. Why are you up there and we're down here? We're all set apart. We're all holy. And that's when Moses said, I mean, because they didn't respect the anointed, the one that he had chosen and anointed to lead the people out. And to not only did he lead them out of Egypt, that's one thing, he led them out of Egypt, but what Moses is known for even to this day, 4,000 years running, what is Moses known for? The lawgiver. 4,000 years running. It even says in Yahuchanan, the first chapter, in verse number 18, it says, Moses, or the law came by Moses. The law came by Musha. So from the time that he gave the law all the way up to our Messiah, it was still the law came from Musha. Even to this day, Musha is the lawgiver. That's why a lot of people, even in the CHURCH, says, Moses, he's just a lawgiver. Y'all know that we're under Christ. Christ was under Musha's lawgiver. But it says in Hebrew, he was anointed above him because he was the only begotten of the Father. He had no sin. So he was anointed even above Musha. That's the problem that they had in that day. You're going to put somebody above Musha? Oh, no, we ain't having it. We ain't having it. He says he's the son of Elohim. We want to crucify him for that. Well, they didn't want to crucify, they want to stone him because that was a capital punishment for Yasharal, was stoning. Oh, we're going to stone you because you said you're the Ben Elohim. By him saying, I'm the Ben Elohim, that made him equal with Abba. Because he says, I'm the Ben Elohim. Which in order for you to say you the Ben Elohim, and I know we use that, and we use it loosely. Oh, we're sons of God. We use it loosely because when you make that statement and proclamation, what you're saying, in order to be a son of Elohim, you have to be sinless. You can't be sinning now. You can't be breaking no commandments now. Don't say you a son of Elohim and you're breaking commandments. It don't work that way. So he says, my people are set apart. My people are set apart. So he set people apart, and then he gave them a set apart Torah. Set apart Torah for a set apart people. And if those set apart people obey Torah, that's the special function that they have that brings out their sanctification. So they were holy, and that's why he says, my bride now has to be this. She's definitely going to be set apart. She's going to be set apart. He's going to be very choosy. Very choosy. Some folks got, and we were kind of talking about this, loose, what do we say about loose lips? Y'all know that's a proverb, right? In Proverbs 13:3, because a lot of us are loose with the mouth. We're very loose with it. Proverbs 13:3 says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth what? But he that openeth wide his lips shall have loose lips, sinks ships. That's where they get it from. That's where they get it from. Now, if you know how to keep your mouth, and where is that at? James? Let's look at James 3, verse 6. Because you open wide your lips, you got loose lips, you're going to have destruction. Because some of us don't know how to bridle the tongue. And the tongue is a fire, a world of lawlessness. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. That's just the tongue. Not be able to keep the, like he says, he that keepeth his tongue is going to keep his what? His life. If I know how to bridle my tongue, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. It sets on fire the course of this world, sends it to hell. And he goes on and gives some more statutes on that tongue in chapter 3 there. Okay, go up to verse 3. Up to verse 3. Behold, we put bits in horses' mouths that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold, also ships, which though they be so great, are driven by fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things, because some folks can't control the tongue. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
Teacher good. Lean into it.
I mean, you can start something with your tongue. I'm going back to Abraham and Sarah. And Sarah got impatient. Now, I promised you a son. She got impatient. So she took Hagar and told Abraham to go in unto Hagar. That advice that she gave her husband, that loose advice she gave her husband, has set on fire the course of this world even to today. That one little thing. That one little thing. We can speak something and don't know the ramifications of it when we speak it. You can say something to your child. You can put negative enforcements in your child and don't realize the ramifications, how that can go on for generations. It can go on for generations. We can say certain things that we just have to be careful what we say, whether we're at home, whether we're on the job, whether we're dealing with family, friends, our children. Yes.
What's that illustration you said where people talk and make it come alive? You said something like that.
Oh, death and life is in the power of the tongue.
Yeah, but you said it's something you can talk about something, you can give it power.
Oh, that's egregore. Yeah. Egregore is something that you can believe in something to where you can speak power into to where it becomes very powerful. But it works off of your belief and the faith. Our faith is powerful. That's why he says we got to have faith. If we knew how powerful, Yahusha says, if you have faith the grain of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. I mean, so we can give life and we can give power unto something that is really not his, doesn't belong to him. And it becomes an egregore. Egregore. And I don't want to bust folks up. I really hate to bust people up. But he spoke in a Hebrew tongue, and the name he gave us was a Hebrew name. Now, what we have as far as JESUS, it evolved into JESUS because when he translated the Latin Vulgate into English, it was not JESUS. The first edition, it was IESU. IESU. From the Latin into English, it was IESU. Then it became IESUS. Then it became JESUS. So what we have today, JESUS, evolved into that. It gets its power through our faith and our belief, that's an egregore. So that's when I said egregore, that's what I meant by egregore, because we can give it power just by, just like the woman that had the issue of blood for 12 years. All her money was gone to physicians, but she heard. She heard first, there's a man in town that's healing everybody. All I got to do is just touch him. And it was her faith that brought that healing. Her faith brought it. No, there was no prayer meeting. There was no anointing oil. The anointed one was already there. Wasn't no laying on of hands. She just touched the hem of his garment because it was in her. It was in her heart, in her mind. All I have to do is touch him and I'm going to be made whole. But how did she know that? What was her journey to get to that? I mean, you got to look at the whole history now, because a Messiah had been promised for a long time. And then when she heard that he was here and all the healing that was going on, she knew within herself, that's it. I already know. I just got to get to him. All I got to do is get to him and touch him. I know I'm healed. And that faith is what did it. It was that faith. So we can give things power just by having that faith and that belief in it. To be holy, he wants it to be holy and without blemish. And what makes it holy? Holy is being set apart. And what makes it set apart, he gives you a set apart Torah for a set apart people to sanctify them. So in Romans 7 and verse 12. So this is what he gives a holy people. He gives a holy people a holy law. Wherefore the law is what? Holy, which means it's Kodesh. Torah is set apart. That's why when you look at Torah and people live in Torah, you're set apart from everybody else. We are set apart because we follow Torah, even amongst our own brothers and sisters. We're set apart. Why? Because we're keeping Torah. We're keeping the commandments. We're keeping the statutes to the best of our ability. Teach me that so I can keep it, so I can live it. Because a holy people, or set apart people, has to have a set apart teaching or a set apart Torah. So his law is holy, and the commandment is what? Holy. That's why he says in Proverbs, where is Paul getting all this? He's getting it from Torah. Because the Proverbs says the commandment is a lamp and the law is light. It also says in Psalms 119, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Because Torah teaches me. Torah is, and the commandment is holy and just and good. Just and good. And Psalms, because I'm about ready to finish up here. We got a storm that's going to be coming through. Psalms 19 and verse number 7. The Torah of Yahuwah, or the law of Yahuwah, is perfect. Don't add anything to it. Don't take anything from it. Don't add none to it. Don't take anything from it. It's already perfect. It meets the mark. It meets the mark. Now, people who know Hebrew and who've studied the text in the Hebrew that it was written will know that there is a what is that called? The eth character, ETH, and it is a mark in Torah Huh? No, it's not. Let's go to, it starts in Genesis and it goes all the way to the end. Let's go to Genesis 1 and we'll start at verse 1 and then let's look at verse number 1. Let's pull this down in the Hebrew. Now scroll this up. It's H853. Let's look that up. H853 is a plow or a mark. Okay, the picture of the ox. Okay, go up what this H853. It's the first letter, the Aleph, and the last letter, Tav, and it's throughout all Torah. I mean, from Genesis, the very first one, all the way to Malachi, you have this mark in it. It's a mark in it. Okay, so where we at, Brother Nathan? Is this what it means here? It's a mark. It's a sign. Also use grammatics, a tool to mark the direct object of the verb. Okay, go up, sign against, okay. It's a mark, arrive, the traveling toward a mark, destination, or a person, the arrival of one to the mark. So he set a mark in his Torah, and those who are following the mark. Okay, let's go up. Let's keep going up. If you follow the mark that's in Torah, what are you going to do? You're going to arrive. You're going to arrive to your destination. A mark, agree, the coming toward a mark, a standard or flag with the family mark hangs as a sign, an agreement or covenant by two where a sign or mark of the agreement is made as a reminder to both parties. This is throughout Torah. From the very beginning, from Genesis to Malachi. Because those who are pressing toward the mark, that's what Shaul was talking about. I'm pressing towards this mark. It's all in Torah. You take away Torah, you take away the mark. There's a mark on his people. Oh, the devil knows it too. The devil knows it too because he puts a mark on his people. But those who know Torah knows that there's a mark on me. It starts at the very beginning. That's why I always say we're from cover to cover. Genesis to Revelation, actually Genesis to Malachi. All of Torah, you have to read it from cover to, you have to understand it from cover to cover because he puts a mark in there from Genesis 1:1 all the way to Malachi. And we'll see if it's in Malachi, the last verse in Malachi. Okay, scroll up. There's another definition here because they're trying to find a definition. Agree, two parties to be in agreement. That's you and the Most High Yah. And the Most High Yah is one party and we're the other party. So he puts a mark in his Torah so that we follow that sign. If we follow that sign, we're going to get to our final destination. And those who follow that sign has a mark on them. Okay, go up. Entrance, keep going. Okay. In the Brown Driver Briggs, I think that's where I got it from, the F. Sign of the definite character object not translated in English, but generally preceding and indicating the accusative. Okay. What does that say? What does that say? Go back up. It's sign of the definite direct object. What is it? Not. You miss it. You don't. If you just English based and you don't go into the Torah and look at it in the Hebrew, you don't see it. It's not translated in English. He hides a mark. in his Torah, but he knows those who are following that mark. You ain't going to see it in English. Okay, I think, let's see, there's one more lexicon. Go up, Brother Nathan, let's see. The last one, the Strong. Listen to what the Strong says. Apparently contracted from H226 in the demonstrative sense of entity, an entity, but generally used to point out more definitely the object of a verb or preposition. For all you English majors, okay, let's go up. Is that it? Such, or as such, or name as such, unrepresented in, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it in English. So starting in Genesis 1:1, he sets a mark. I'm setting a mark in Genesis 1:1. And okay, let's go to Malachi. Let's go to Malachi 4:6 is the last verse, I think it is, because it's a short chapter. Malachi 4:6. And let's pull this down. Malachi 4:6, let's pull that down. Let's see if we see H853 in here at all. From Genesis 1:1 to Malachi 4:6, you'll find this mark. And everybody that keeps Torah has this mark on them. Now, it's important that you have that mark on you because the devil knows also, and I'm just kind of leading up to, because I'm going to say some things, I'm going to teach next week in Arizona, so I'm just kind of leading up to some things. But everybody that keeps Torah has a mark on them. The devil knows it too. So the devil is coming with his mark because his mark is going to identify those who belong to him. And if we have Torah on us, the mark is going to be upon us. Everybody that keeps Torah has a mark upon them. So don't you think the devil knows that? Know that? That's why he wants to dispense of Torah. And that's why a lot of teachers and preachers are telling you, you don't need Torah. That takes away the mark that he set on you or he puts on. He put a mark on his people. He put a mark on his people. Another mark he put on his people is when Isaac and Rebekah was getting ready to have boys, right? And they was fighting in the womb. And Rebekah cried out, Most High, I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. And what did he say? There's 2 nations in your room. 2 nations. And they both came out with a different mark on them. Jacob was the one that he marked. Esau, he didn't mark. So you can see all the way through Torah, from Genesis to Malachi, all the way through Torah, he set a mark on his people. He knows exactly who belongs to him and who doesn't. So ain't going to be nobody slipping trying to be the bride. No, you ain't going to, woo, I made it. No. No, you got to know you're going to make it. You got to know, if I keep Torah, I know I'm going to make it. That's the confidence I have. I keep Torah, I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to make it. If I endure to the end, I know I'm going to make it. Now, if you give up along the way, if you're blessed and you make it through judgment, because he loves judgment, you might be blessed to attend the wedding. But if you don't make it through judgment, when he starts to judge his people, because judgment begins at the house of Yah, if you don't make it through that judgment, you ain't even getting into the kingdom to where you can even be selected as a bride. So he knows, I mean, everything he put in his Torah is just there for a purpose and a reason. And if anybody takes it, because I hear it a lot. I don't know if you do, but I hear it a lot that we're not Old Testament. We're not all this. I hear a lot that we're New Testament church. We don't deal with the. I hear that, and I'm going. You guys, you don't know. You have to understand. Dig into Torah. Dig into it. You have to understand the language that it was even written in. If you want to know who the Most High Yah is, you have to really understand the language that He wrote it in. Now, I don't speak it, but I can go in here and study it. I can go in there and study it. And the first letter of his alphabet and the last letter is something that's hidden in Torah that has no translation in English. So when you put the Aleph character together with the Tav, there is no English translation, but it's all throughout Torah because it's a mark. And that's why Shaul says, I press toward that mark. The prize of who? The high calling of the Mashiach. Because I got a what do they call it? A lighthouse, or I got an example. I can see it. My example who made it through is Yahushua Mashiach. He made it through. So if I can keep that same Torah that he kept, keeping my eyes on him and following in his footsteps, I can make it. I can make it. And you can overcome. Y'all know you can overcome everything in this world? We can overcome. Because those who overcome. Okay, brother, last verse here. Revelation 21:7. Those who overcome. He that overcometh gets to what? Be able to inherit all things. And I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son or my Ben. But that's only if you overcome. Only if you overcome. So are there going to be excuses for anybody if they don't make it? Won't be no excuses. Not when he gave you his son as a sign, as a marker, as that light to follow in his steps. That's who I'm following. He's given me his son. All I do is follow that light. And his son kept Torah, didn't break not one commandment. So if I'm walking in his steps, I'm keeping Torah. Because you have a set apart word for a set apart people. Let this be my last verse. Hebrews 12:4. Hebrews 12:4. Let's see what verse 3 says. Is it 12:3? No. 12:14. There it is. 12:14. Follow peace with all men. And what? Holiness. And we know what holiness is. Holiness is being set apart. Holiness is set apart. To be holy means I'm set apart. So if you're not set apart, what's going to happen? Huh? Okay. If you're not set apart, without which no man shall see Yahuwah. That's what this is. Which no man shall see Yahuwah. How are men going to be able to see Yahuwah? Being set apart. When you're set apart, when you're holy and you're set apart, because he has a set apart word for a set apart people. So if I'm set apart, following the set apart word, then men will be able to see Yahuwah. So where are they going to see Yahuwah? In us. So if we're not set apart, can't no man see him. If we're not set apart, keeping Torah, nobody can see him. Nobody can see him. So in order for the world to see the Most High Yah, the world has to see us set apart. In order for the world to see the Most High Yah. Because if you don't have people who are set apart, you're not going to see him. Because he is in Torah. The Ruach is in Torah. So if I'm keeping Torah, and I know Yahusha said, let your light so shine on earth that men might see your what? Good works. And who are they going to glorify? Our Abba in heaven. Abba gets the glory. So nobody is going to see him if we're not set apart. The only way the world sees the Most High Yah if they see him in his people. That's the only way the world sees him. So if you're not keeping the set apart Torah, and that's why, isn't it Shaul says, if your gospel be hid, who are you hiding it from? They can't see him. They can't see Yahuwah because you're not set apart. So the more I can stay in Torah, the more they see my Abba. And the more works you do, you glorify him. Because the CHURCH says it ain't about works. But Yahusha says, you do the works, you're going to glorify my Abba. So should I believe Yahusha who says that? Or should I believe the current CHURCH that says it ain't about works? That's what they'll tell you. Oh, it ain't about you doing all the work. It ain't about work. Yeah, but Yahusha says if my light shines, they'll see my good works and glorify my Abba up in heaven. That's what Yahusha said. So we got people today that's smarter than him. We must, because they got a lot of following now. they got a lot of folk. They'll talk against Torah. They'll talk against the set apart word and the set apart people. All right. Any questions or comments?
Well, there's one comment. Earl Harris III.
Uh-huh.
He says Ezekiel 11:5 and Proverbs
4:9. Okay. Yeah, let's look at Ezekiel 11:5. Let's look at that. And then Proverbs 24:9, because they go together. Because how do we build doctrine? Line upon line, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. That's how you build doctrine. You cannot build doctrine off of one verse. And the Ruach of Yahuwah fell upon me and said unto me, speak. Thus saith Yahuwah, thus have ye said, O house of Yasharah, for I know the things that come into your mind. Every one of them. Man, you ought to be praying. Be praying and clean up your mind. And we had that testimony. I'm glad he washed my mind. I needed to be brainwashed. I needed my brain washed. You knew where my brain come from. You'd be glad my brain was washed. I know I am. He got a brainwashing. Yeah, because I needed it. Proverbs 24:9. I needed it. And then this will be it. The thought of foolishness is sin. That's why he says you better work it out. Didn't he say, work out your soul salvation with fear and trembling. That fear is, I got some respect towards Torah because Torah knows my mind. Nothing gets past Torah. Y'all heard me say it before. You could be in your house, turn off all the lights, go on downstairs in the basement. You got a room down the hallway, at the end of the hallway, got the door locked with locks on it and all the lights out. He can still see you. And he knows everything about you.
Torah says he knew before you even went downstairs that you was gonna go
Yeah.
and lock the door.
So he knew it. Because a lot of times we think we can hide from him. You know, and that's what the illustration up there. We think we can hide from him. You can't hide. You can't hide nothing. And we ought to be glad. Now, I know we try to hide things from one another, but we ought to be glad I can't hide nothing from him. How else would he judge? How else would he judge me if I could hide something from him? Because a lot of people think they're getting away. Yeah, you're not getting away. So that's why Shaul says, I admonish you, brethren. And then James says, do not err. Do not err, my dearly beloved. Do not err, my brethren. I think that's how he says it. Do not err, my brethren. Because now these brothers know now. They know. They walked with him. They know. I mean, Shaul didn't walk with him, but these other brothers, they walk with him. They know. Man, don't err. Because he loves judgment. You will be judged. It's appointed unto men once to die. After that, judgment. And nobody escapes. Nobody. Young and old alike, nobody's going to escape. Yes. Yeah. Right. When you got the old, because you got Hebrew and you got Greek. But in order for them to walk together, they got to agree. They got to agree. And Matthew, now that first book, now they gave credit to Matthew for writing it. But if you look at Matthew, the 9th chapter, that's when Matthew was called. He was a publican. He wasn't called till the 9th chapter. And he uses it in the third person sense. So a lot of historians, says, it was a Roman Catholic Church that gave that book title, Matthew. Somebody else had actually written it, but it was a Roman Catholic Church that put a name on it because they were custodians of the book. They stole the book. They stole the menorah. They stole the scrolls. They stole all that. They're the custodians of it. But Matthew wrote in Hebrew. So if you really study Matthew, you have to understand the Hebrew language and take what's written in English and you have to translate back into the Hebrew because that's what he wrote was Hebrew. And there was other books. It was said of Kepha, which is Peter, Yahukanah, which is John, and Jacob, which is James. It is said of them that they were unlearned and what? It says it in Acts, ignorant. They were unlearned and ignorant. So how could somebody who's unlearned and ignorant speak Greek? Greek's kind of a hard language to speak. You had the Hellenists, the Jews who were Hellenists. They were taught in the Greek culture and spoke the Greek language. But these fishermen from Judea, they didn't speak no Greek. They spoke Hebrew. And they wrote in Hebrew. But they want us to think that they all wrote in Greek. They didn't. There's historical documents that prove that it was written. Some of it was written in Greek, some of it was written in Hebrew. Any other questions or comments? If not, then we're going to bring this Shabbat to close. We've got a storm coming, and some of those who are listening probably have already seen some of the storm already, and it's supposed to hit us tonight. Keep my wife and my daughter up in prayer. And my niece, they're on their way to Arizona. They're trying to stay out in front of the storm. So far they are. They're in Oklahoma City. They're trying to get in front of it because this is pushing south and east, and we're getting a lot of snow. And then behind the snow, it's going to get cold. It's going to get cold. So let's keep them up in prayer. Remember Damian McNeil. Keep him up in prayer. And I haven't heard back from him. He had surgery this morning. or today. When I talked to him there, he was supposed to have it Monday. But he didn't have it Monday. They wanted him to have more recovery because he came out of, and so they were monitoring him and because when you go under the knife and you go there, because he's getting ready to have an organ taken out. And so they want to make sure that, it's a successful. So they have to follow all his vital signs, make sure everything's good and everything before they actually did the surgery. And that was on today. So keep him up in prayer. Mother Carruthers and Mother Smith are elderly members, always praying for them and pray one for another. And I'll be here on the Shabbat, and then I'll be leaving Saturday night, be up in the plane. So hopefully we'll take off. Once we get out of here, it's okay in Arizona. It's just got to get there. Then got to come back home. So we'll see. But next, I'll be here this Shabbat. But next Bible class, a week from today, Sister Walsh has prepared a class, and I'm hoping we put it online. I'll try to follow it. I'm going to be teaching Tuesday out there. Got a gathering together, and so I'm going to try to go live with that. And then the next Shabbat, a week from this coming Shabbat, El Gerard will be teaching on that. So the 28th will be Sister Walsh, and then the 31st will be Elder Gerard. Same time, 11 o'clock, and all praises going up to him. And then we offer up this service unto him and ourselves as a living sacrifice. So anything else? If not, we're going to go ahead and stand.